What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be going over the biggest winners and losers from the most recent week of college football. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I always love to make content like this. We actually raw talked a 4-hour stream last night watching the game, so that was extremely fun. Ohio State versus Texas. Super excited to go into this, though. Again, if you are new, feel free to join the community. We're on our road to 15K. Hopefully, we're going to be getting there in the next month, and it's looking like we might be, so it's super duper awesome. Let's get into this with the guys who are the superstars of the week. Jack Sawyer, first guy to take the cake, obviously had that crazy touchdown after the strip at the end, but overall his performance was an 89 defensive grade, 6 pressures including 1 sack. He had 1 defensive stop as well as a forced fumble that led to a touchdown. Bottom line, this dude's been absolutely killer. He easily could slip into the first round. I'll be doing an edge rusher rankings video tomorrow, so spoiler alert for that. That's super fun, doing the graphics actually right now, right before this as we were speaking. So it's coming soon. Stay stoked for it, I should say. But no, Jack Sawyer, he's a real quality edge rusher. And do I think that he is as translatable to the NFL as some other guys? Maybe not as much as maybe the biggest fans of him would say, but I think he's a damn good edge rusher, and that's all that really matters, right? Like, he doesn't have to be the best of the best, but he is damn dominant in college. Absolutely. He exposed, same with JT, both of them exposed Cam Williams. We'll talk about him plenty in this episode, but let's continue on. We got JT Tumala here as the second superstar of the week. These are not in order, by the way, but he ended up having 81 defensive grade, 3 pressures, 2 of those being sacks, as well as 5 defensive stops, and he was actually dealing with, I think, a sprained ankle. I saw him doing some runs on the sideline. So JT's been fantastic. You guys know how much I love JT, someone who I've been extremely proud to end up falling in love with this season and kind of being his big hype man, and it's good to see he's back where we know he should be. Then continuing on, I forgot to talk. No, I didn't. I actually talked about JT stuff. Abdul Carter's next. I mean, no shit. I mean, again, this is not in any particular order, so don't get all grouchy about it. But Abdul Carter had an 83 defensive grade. He had 8 pressures, including a sack and 4 defensive stops. I will say, I'm pretty sure that tackle was a backup. The first tackle didn't have very much success in the first place versus Abdul, but I think there was an injury and then a backup tackle ended up coming in. Regardless, as a pass rusher, Abdul is pretty much there at the top of the class. He's a fantastic player. It's like right now, what I don't like about the draft community is that it's like sacrilegious to say anything negative about or like any risks when it comes to Abdul. I still saw him look relatively mediocre against the run. I'll put it that way. So still a really, really good performance nonetheless, but I do think that we need to bring up the fact that he is going to be an elite pass rusher day one, but does have some areas of improvement, and that is in the run game. So Abdul Carter, fantastic player. We'll be talking more about him tomorrow. But yeah, 83 defensive grade, 8 pressures, including a sack and 4 defensive stops. Good job for him. Dennis Sutton also got to be in this list, man. Dennis Sutton's a really good player, super high ceiling, and 88 defensive grade, 4 pressures, 2 of them being sacks, 4 defensive stops, a forced fumble, and he had that crazy interception. I actually added an it factor to his grade just because of that. I think that's absolutely baller. I think he's going to have a better NFL trajectory if he goes to particular coaches, my favorite being Dan Quinn for him. I think he's a little bit more of a project in the NFL level, but at college, so far, he has been absolutely dominant. Dennis Sutton, a damn good player. And then, of course, continuing the trend, we had to have Ohio State and Penn State, the Big Ten, pretty much in this list. But Nick Singleton had a phenomenal game, 15 carries, 84 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground with 4 missed tackles forced. He was targeted 6 times, got 2 completions for 33 yards as well in their loss to Notre Dame. Bottom line, this dude is an absolute punisher. And like, I personally prefer vision backs, but Nick Singleton is far from bad in that category. He's a really solid back. This is a very good running back class. I'm not the highest guy in Nick Singleton, but I do know that he is performing very valiantly, especially in his final performance there for Penn State. Pretty sure it's his final performance. We'll see. Guys like to manufacture years in college or just go back because the money's there, but I don't know. I don't think Nick Singleton's going to bow out because there's a lot of love for him right now. But the rest of the stock up group, TreVeyon Henderson starting out here. I mean, he obviously could have been on this list, but he had only 7 touches this game. So he had 6 carries for 42 yards, 1 missed tackle forced on those carries. Also, he had 1 reception. That's that like infamous play right before half for 75 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's still such a big game-breaking play right there. So grand total 7 touches for 117 yards and a touchdown. So obviously a fantastic performance there for Trey Henderson. I don't think that he should go super duper high in terms of like the draft order, because I think he is someone you should give limited touches to, but I think he's one of those game breakers when you give him those touches. He's not someone who should be a volume touch type of guy. He is someone who should be getting 10 to 15 touches a game and being a legitimate impact behind a little bit more of a consistent back in terms of the down by down gritty stuff, because Trey Henderson will absolutely gash a tired defense, and that is where he is so damn good. And I love him to death. So TreVeyon Henderson, I think that he's going to play a massive role on a team. Don't get it wrong. I do think some things are a little bit twisted right now, but he's a really damn good back. Donovan Jackson, he's actually cementing himself right now as a legitimate potential NFL tackle. Like, it is insane. And at the start of the year, actually, you guys can go back to my guard video. I ended up saying, like, yeah, I could see him being a true tackle. Like, he has the tackle build. I just did not think in half a year, very similar to how Abdul Carter has transitioned from linebacker to edge, I could have seen it. But the growth over the short period of time is phenomenal. I'm excited to get into offensive tackles after this. Tight ends, technically, I'm wrapping those up as well. So we're going to be having quite a few rankings videos hopefully coming out in the next couple weeks. But Donovan Jackson, fantastic performance there. 86 pass blocking grade, 1 pressure. Jaden Greathouse, he ended up having 7 targets, 7 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Really valiant performance there for Notre Dame in the slot. Vernon Broughton back on the board, back on the stock up sheet. He did a really damn good job this past week. 86 defensive grade, and 90 pass rushing grade, 2 pressures, one of those being a sack, a defensive stop, and a forced fumble. I will say the sack was versus an offensive lineman that was playing some of the worst football that I've ever seen. Like, a really, really depressing game from his side. But regardless, I mean, I still think fantastic performance for Vernon Broughton, who's had an amazing off season, or like postseason so far, bowl season, playoff season, whatever you want to call it. He's been red hot, and he's going right into the Senior Bowl in a couple weeks. We could definitely see a big rise from Vernon Broughton. Then you got Quinshon Judkins. Gotta mention him if we're talking about Trey Henderson here. 9 carries, 36 yards, 2 touchdowns. On top of that, 5 missed tackles forced on those 9 carries. He also had 3 receptions on 3 targets for 22 yards. So grand total 12 touches was that 58 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 missed tackles forced. I mean, just really solid, impactful performance. I mean, again, I don't think there was a single touchdown scored by a receiver in the game. I think it was all running backs. So, I mean, it's pretty damn insane. But Quinshon Judkins, Trey Henderson were like the lifeblood there for Ohio State. Then we got Zakee Wheatley. Dude's a baller. 82 defensive grade, 90 run defense grade, 5 defensive stops, and he ended up having 2 targets, 2 receptions for 9 yards, but ended up also getting a key interception. Good job to Wheatley there. Tyler Warren after that, 6 receptions on 7 targets for 72 yards when his entire team had 139. Not a single reception by a receiver, which is crazy, but 139 pass yards for the whole team, 72 for Tyler Warren in receiving. He also had 2 carries for 21 yards as well. So overall, Tyler Warren just did Tyler Warren things. It's not really a stock up. I just want to be able to give credit where credit is due. Jaden Blue, he ended up having a pretty interesting game. 4 carries, 16 yards, 1 missed tackle forced on the ground. You guys know I love Jaden Blue. But he had 5 receptions on 6 targets for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. The pass that was not completed was actually a drop, however. But bottom line, I mean, he was, again, very similar to what we were talking about, Judkins and Trey Henderson, kind of the lifeblood of Texas there. Then you got Kelvin Banks, 86 pass blocking grade, 1 pressure allowed, like literally the exact same stat line as Donovan Jackson. I think he did hold a little bit, but he still needs to sit more back into his heels, in my opinion. He's still doing a fantastic job, though. Colin Simmons, though, he's someone who didn't really show up too much on the stat sheet for PFF. 81 defensive grade, 2 pressures, and 3 stops. But I don't know why they're not putting in batted balls at the line of scrimmage, because this dude was literally killing drives by being able to swat a pass down. He did a phenomenal job. One of my favorite players going into the 2027 draft. It's like that draft is unbelievably stacked at the moment. Like at the top of the talent group, like ridiculous. It could be one of those crazy ones. But let's talk about the guys who are stock down at the moment. And Drew Allard had a really bad performance. He kind of capped it off with a horrific lateral as well at the end of the game. But he had 12 completions on 23 throws, 135 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, a bad interception. They say he was trying to dirt at someone's feet. And he had 1 big-time throw, 3 turnover-worthy plays, leading a 36 passing grade from PFF, as well as a fumble. I was saying very vehemently, because he was my number 3 quarterback before he ended up going back to school. I was also on record saying this guy is not ready to start in the NFL. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are. So him being my quarterback 3 is more so an indictment on the class. You guys know what I think about it, but I thought that he really, like, people were asking, like, oh, what happens if Drew Allard comes out after winning the Natty? And it's like, even if he does, I just thought he was way, way, way too unpolished. The dude is doing a great job progressing, but he has not gotten to the finish line. And it made it very obvious this past week there versus Notre Dame. Then we got Cam Williams. Cam Williams, I think Stoutland is his only hope. I really do think he should go back to school. I think he needs to go back to school. 39 pass blocking grade, 5 pressures. This dude, it was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing there for Cam Williams. Jack Sawyer took advantage of him. He had pretty much the game-winning play, or technically for Cam Williams, he had the game-losing play right there. Just everybody took advantage of him, and it was just a really, really bad performance. Cam Williams, I thought he could use time at guard before he finished up at tackle, and I just don't think he should even come out. Like, you cannot leave the taste in people's mouths that he just did. Like, it's crazy. But, the rest of the stock down list, it's very hard to get on stock down, so we didn't have the full 10 as you guys normally get to see. But Jahdae Barron technically is on here. People were saying, oh my God, he locked down Jeremiah Smith, 1 reception for 3 yards. I could have put Jeremiah Smith on stock down, but at the same time, he's getting triple teamed the whole game. Jahdae Barron was playing zone. The brother did not have a single coverage rep, actually on Jeremiah Smith. So cut the bullshit. I love Jahdae Barron. He's a smart zone corner, and he played a smart zone corner game. That being said, he had a 57 defensive grade. He had only 1 defensive stop. He had 3 receptions allowed on 4 targets for 36 yards. Not a bad game at all. Didn't want to include him on this. There's actually 4 players out of this group of 7 that I actually wanted to include, but I'm still going to give you guys some analysis there. What I did see with Jahdae Barron is the fact that I do think he's a little bit capped athletically. I saw that there was, very early in the game, there was a hitch by Emeka Egbuka where Jahdae was playing off coverage, and he just did not have the acceleration to get back to the catch point. So you're going to have to use him differently than I think the way Texas did that game. Texas played a lot of essentially protect against Jeremiah Smith, and they still got eaten up by a plethora of other players. But Jahdae Barron's still a fantastic player. If it drops his stock, it might be 1 spot, but I still wanted to put it in there. Quinn Ewers, the guy's just absolute butt cheeks. I don't care what the stat line says. I love the upside of Quinn, and I'm an Ohio State fan, right? So maybe I'm a little bit against Quinn, but I also was rooting for Quinn when he was a true freshman. So I don't have anything against him personally. The dude just does not play football at an NFL level. He just doesn't. 23 completions on 39 throws, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. 3 big-time throws, 2 turnover-worthy plays, and 2 fumbles. It wasn't a horrible stat line, but the bottom line is he didn't show up when his team needed him the most, and didn't feel the pressure on the backside, climbed the pocket into bad sacks. I just really thought that he had, this whole entire year has been a shit show for Quinn Ewers, and I hope he bounces back, but I really don't think he should come out to the NFL. He ended up saying he's pretty much regardless of the result coming out in the draft, but maybe unless I'm someone who's really confident in developing quarterbacks, I don't know if he's going to actually provide any value to my team. Anthony Hill is next. He had a 56 defensive grade, a pressure, a sack, and a defensive stop, but this is the bad part. 4 receptions on 4 targets, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Again, that's something that you got to be able to throw out there. Anthony Hill's still learning, still growing, still developing. I'm perfectly fine with him continuing to do so. Sonny Styles is next. Should not be on this list, but again, I was kind of nitpicking as much as possible to get something of content on the stock down. He had 2 pressures, one of those being a defensive sack, And he also had 4 defensive stops, but he was targeted 7 times. He was targeted 9 times, allowing 7 completions for 70 yards and a touchdown. He did have a pass breakup. Bottom line, it was a roller coaster performance. Good in certain areas. Not a fan of the fact that you have essentially a 77% completion rate and also a touchdown on your record, but it is what it is. Davis Igbinosun didn't have a bad stat line, 60 defensive grade, a pressure, and 2 receptions on 5 targets for 30 yards. He just continues to look like he's a step behind of where he was early in the year. I don't understand what it is. Maybe he had some type of injury where he's still trying to compensate for it, but there's something that's off about the Iggy that I know and love and the Iggy that we have right now. But I still think he's a great college corner, and that's why he's still very dominant. But there are moments where I'm like, man, you do look out of place right there. Then we got Howard Cross. 62 defensive grade, 0 pressures, and 1 defensive stop. I think he played 47 reps total. You got to be able to produce something, especially I guess he didn't need to, but you really hope that your defensive interior could do that. Then you got Cam Miller. He ended up getting hurt, so let's not rub this in too much. He had a 51 defensive grade and allowed 2 completions on 3 targets for 65 yards and a touchdown. Cam Miller was my bottom graded corner coming into the year out of the 27 that I did end up ranking. So it is what it is. Again, it was a really fun week. Thank you guys so much for sticking and joining me for 4 hours last night as we got to watch these guys live. But that's going to be all for me today. Get excited for tomorrow. It's going to be a great one. Love you. See you on the far side. Peace.